Nihon. Sushi, anime, the best subway system in the world, and sausage festivals that can make even the most perverted blush. It has everything, and the world knows it. Year after year, annual visits to the country rise as tourists rush in to see cherry blossoms, the sky tree, and the horrors of Roppongi. $1,000 round-trip ticket, a tiny hotel room, and meals from 7-Eleven. This is the dream. There is one problem though. Japan is tired of it. Not the Japanese government. Considering their goal of 60 million yearly visitors by 2030, they're not too mad. We're talking about Japanese people who now think too many people are visiting Japan. The plan to make Japan a popular tourist destination goes back more than 20 years. And shit, they did a good job. Phew, maybe too good. The crowd's insane. Personal space? What's that? They're squeezing in like it's Black Friday and a PS5 is on sale every single day.
Hey, yo, what the fuck?
Hey, at least it's clean, unlike the super rats running around the New York subways. But these shitty tourists, according to the Japanese, don't even piss right. Yeah, I don't know either. Apparently in Japan, they all piss and sitting down. Japanese toilets are like a spa experience though, so in a weird way, it makes sense. What's worse is these extras now taking up space are some of the most inconsiderate people you could imagine. I remember 10 years ago when Rude would be talking on the trains. Now, we're past that. People are doing pull-ups at shrines and on train handrails. Tourism, of course, isn't immigration, but to give you an idea of how much Japanese people generally hate change, especially when it involves foreigners, hear this. We've all heard about Japan's low birth rate and how the country is basically going extinct. A million doomsday YouTube videos and news articles have been written about this. Nobody wants to make babies, and shit, why would they? Immigration is another way to increase the country's population, saving the population from dying out. Sounds good, right? Well, 50% of Japanese survey respondents acknowledged that an increase in foreigners was necessary, but said, they didn't like it. And only another 31% said the country should actively accept foreign workers. Anyone that knows a decent amount about Japanese culture would agree that they value their culture and way of life and don't want foreigners fucking with it. 2024 was a record year for tourism in Japan, with almost 37 million visitors, up from 25 million in 2023. That's a big ass jump. And it started the talk of over-tourism. The biggest reason for the increase was the Japanese yen had a very rough 2024, meaning for foreigners, it was cheaper to travel. To give you an idea of what it looks like, a 1,000 yen tonkotsu ramen in 2019 would cost you about $8.91. The same 1,000 yen bowl in 2024 would be $6.17. So yeah, if you didn't travel to Japan in 2024, you're probably regretting it right now. But hey, it's still a good time. Book that flight and don't let your dreams be dreams. The yen being worth dirt is good for tourism, but it really sucks for the local people. Imagine your money is losing value and your shitty salary isn't changing. For most people, their lives are becoming harder, while tourists come and happily benefit from what's crushing the local people. Life isn't just harder. While tourists can travel to Japan more, Japanese people are forced to travel less. Americans can't buy eggs and Japanese people can't travel. That's life in 2025. In 2024, there were 13 million trips abroad by Japanese people, way down from the pre-COVID of 20 million. So, while they're stuck in their tiny-ass apartments, kick streamers are visiting and terrorizing the country. Tourism does benefit the economy, and that's the reason for that 60 million by 2030 goal, but everyday people don't directly gain anything from it. So, they don't care, and you can't blame them. Unfortunately for these Japanese people though, 2025 will definitely be a much bigger year. The yen is still in the dirt, and that will help pump up the numbers, but a big part of the jump will come from Chinese tourists. In fact, the numbers are already showing this for 2025, which is fucking comedy because polls have found that 90% of Chinese and Japanese have negative views of each other. Thailand is always a top destination for Chinese tourists, but thanks to the horrible news coverage, Thailand is kinda shit right now. Surprisingly, news of Chinese tourists being kidnapped in Thailand and brought to scam centers in Myanmar makes people less willing to visit. That shit is crazy! A recent update had 7,000 victims who were being held captive rescued. These people were electrocuted, had bones broken, and looked like they were leaving a war zone. In the Western news, this news doesn't get much traction, but in Southeast Asia, it's a big topic. As far as China is concerned though, recently a famous Chinese actor was a victim. He was fortunately rescued after going missing in Thailand, but all this news is making Chinese tourists less likely to visit Thailand in 2025. Can't fucking blame them. Legal za and ladyboys aren't worth possibly being abducted. Chinese tourism brings good money, and in fact, they spent the most in Japan last year. But Chinese tourists are shitty. And I know, that sounds racist as hell, but it's not my opinion. Hold on. Just don't click off the video.
We do not care.
I personally have no bad experiences with Chinese tourists. In December, one Chinese tourist threatened, Japan is to become part of China, and if you act arrogantly, you'll be erased. And this was a response to being called out for taking pictures in a restricted area. Their behavior is so notoriously shitty that years ago their own government warned them about their behavior abroad. You know how bad your behavior has to be abroad for your own government to make a statement? So yeah, Chinese tourists, notoriously shitty. I'm sure more stories will come out in 2025 as their trips to Japan increase. Speaking of increases, you may have heard of Japan considering price increases for tourists as a response to over-tourism and the yen plummeting. We're not talking about street vendors taxing foreigners. You probably won't be haggling to get the local price on a I Heart Tokyo shirt anytime soon. This is about tourist sites, hotels, and restaurants charging foreigners more. It's already happening. Take a local restaurant, for example, that charges locals 5,980 yen for all-you-can-eat seafood and foreigners 6,980 yen. That's about $7. Money you could have used at 7-Eleven for snacks or for your Suica card. Some will definitely see this as greed, but that's not true. The reason for taxing foreigners more is these sites and restaurants are hoping for less foreigner visits. It's better than restaurants and bars banning foreigners, but some places are doing that too. Personally, I don't mind the taxing, but the day I need to haggle on prices for street takoyaki like I'm in a third world country, things are already this bad. But remember, the country has a goal of 60 million visitors by 2030. Despite everything said so far, Japan might not have it that bad. At least not compared to countries like France and Spain. You definitely know those are two popular tourist destinations, but you might not know just how popular they are. In 2023, France had 100 million visitors. The country has a population of, wait for it, 68 million. Spain had 85 million visitors in 2023 and a population of 48 million. When your country has more tourists than people living there, that's when things get fucked. These countries have anti-tourism protests, and they've done things like shoot water guns at tourists. Japanese citizens may be beating up kick streamers, but that's different and deserved. If you see any story involving a kick streamer, it's not unreasonable to assume they're guilty. Why they chose to be asses in Japan specifically? I have no idea. Back to Spain and France. It's so bad that a third of people in Spain say local areas have too many tourists. Despite an insane 15-year streak of declining yearly, Japan's population is over 120 million. They are a far way from this type of madness. It's not that simple though. Land size is important too. Despite having a larger population, Japan is smaller than France and Spain. And there's another issue with Japan. The most popular tourist destination, Tokyo, is home to 30% of the population. Compare that to France, where Paris holds just 18% of the population, and Spain, where Barcelona is home to about 12%. No doubt this is part of why the 37 million visitors to Japan is already stressing the country. The easy solution would be tourists visiting other areas of the country, but it's up to Japan to promote those regions. Not just promote, but, also develop. The country's own people are basically all running off to areas like Tokyo and Osaka for work opportunities. You must have heard about the millions of abandoned homes you can buy for like, what, $1. The rural areas are literally dying out. Ideally, more of Japan sees foot traffic so the geisha of Kyoto can be left alone. All things considered, Japan is starting to see over-tourism, but they're a far ways away from the levels of Spain and France. Realistically, the jump from 25 million to 37 million in 1 year shocked the country, and we saw an overreaction. As shitty tourists, we can all do better. Learn the culture and social rules prior to visiting, and for God's sake, get the fuck out of Tokyo and Kyoto before we see an anti-gaijin movement.